Welcome to the Inspire to Invest podcast, where we're sharing stories from real estate investors and how investing has changed their lives. This episode of the Inspire to Invest podcast has been brought to you by WealthShare. Hey everybody, welcome to Inspire to Invest. Today we've got Jose Bernard joining us. He is from Circle Management and Investment Group, and he also has Sky Circle LLC. He's from the Dominican Republic, and he moved to the United States when he was 12 years old. He grew up in the Bronx, New York City, and then he went to college in Connecticut, which is where he's been ever since. But it was really interesting how he started investing in real estate in his last year of college back in 2009. And he's actually grown his portfolio to 48 units during that time. And now he's focused on flipping either 1 to 2 projects per month. And he's also got an amazing foundation in the Dominican where he's focused on building a school and also facilitating donation of supplies for students there. So that's an amazing way to incorporate philanthropy into your real estate investing strategy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to just dive right in. So you mentioned how you started investing in real estate when you were in university. So how did that come about? Because I feel like usually people are focused on studying and exams, but what really led you down that path?
So I'll give you a little bit of my background. So when I moved to the US, I was 12 and I've been working ever since. So I started working at a very young age. So when I went to college, I was working full time and going to college at the same time. And I always wanted to build a business. I didn't know that it was going to be real estate. Real estate was not a thought at that time.
Yeah.
But I knew that I wanted to save money to build that business. And at that time, 2009, as you remember, it was a lot cheaper to buy a house than it is today.
A lot cheaper.
Yeah. So I had the income because I was working full time, so I could qualify. And I was only like 21 years old.
Yeah.
And it made a lot more sense for me to buy a duplex, rent it out, than for me to pay what I was paying out of pocket to go to school and live at the dorm at that time. So that's how I got
house hacking. Like, did you live in that
house hacking?
Yeah.
Yes, I was doing the ultimate house hacking where you have not just the other unit, but you have the bedrooms, the living room. I was renting every single space that I could find in the house.
The hallway. Yeah, that's very entrepreneurial. So then what would that have cost back then compared to what it would cost nowadays?
Absolutely. So that particular property I bought for $125,000.
Yeah.
I own another property. I own a couple of properties still in the same area, and those properties recently appraised for $375,000.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
I mean, that's still pretty good. Like, I feel like where I live, you probably aren't going to find a duplex for any less than $700,000 or $800,000. It's really crazy. Like, even the average townhouse is probably around that same price. So I don't know what's happened here, but it's kind of mental.
Yeah.
So obviously you were kind of starting out that way. Then how did that expand into building up your portfolio? Because I guess you're sitting around the 15-year mark. But where did things kind of go down that path of like flipping and expanding your portfolio so much?
So I got more serious into real estate investing in 2016.
Okay.
And this was after I had bought a couple of properties, but I was very passive about my investment. It wasn't like with a plan. I was just getting a property almost once a year. There was a year or two that I skipped, but that was all until 2016 when I saw that what I have gotten in the previous year, it was bringing a decent income. And I said, wait a minute, there's something here. And that's when I really said, okay, maybe I should dive into this and make this my focus. And I did that in 2016. So my growth in the scale from what I have today has happened mostly in the last 3 to 4 years. Most of those properties that I have acquired have been in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. So then what would you say you attribute to kind of having that growth plan? Did you just think it up for yourself, or did you start getting real estate education and mentoring? Like what path did you follow there?
So I have to give a lot of credit to the realtor that I was working with my very first deal, which is still a dear friend of mine. And she actually put me in touch with Bigger Pockets. At that time, back in 2009, 2010, podcasts like this were not a lot of them were not out like they are today, and the education was not available as much as it is today. So I dove into Bigger Pockets, and I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that really kind of like the bolt went up in my head. And I said, wait a minute, there's people that are doing this as a business, and there's people that are doing very well with it. Maybe I can do the same thing. And that's when I really started looking at it as not just let me just buy one or two houses here and there and have some rental income, but not let's actually build a business of
Yeah.
investing in real estate.
So then how did you learn the business side of it? Because I feel like that's one thing that I talk to a lot of investors about, that they feel like for people that scale too quickly and maybe they fail, they lack some of that business knowledge and, that entrepreneurial side. So where did you kind of pick up some of those skills along with the real estate?
So my first business was in high school. I usually what I did back then was I would buy jerseys and sneakers online and sell them at my school. So that was my first business that I started.
Yeah.
From there, still in high school, I got into one of those multi-level marketing businesses.
Yeah.
So I was actually at like 16 years old. I was holding these meetings at my house with all these
Yeah.
people, and I'm like trying to pitch them the sales,
Yeah.
right? So I learned a lot from that, very young age. And then when I went to school for was business. And when I finished school, I worked in sales for about 8 years. And
Yeah.
my sales job, I was in charge of a pretty large region, and it was all with small businesses. So I
Yeah.
actually helped small businesses to structure themselves for growth. So I took a lot of the skills that I learned in my W-2 and
Yeah.
translated those to the business that I have now.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. What would you say are some of the challenges that you encountered while you were scaling your business and growing?
I think at the beginning, one of the very first things was you don't know what you don't know, right? And you're learning as you go.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us, you don't start out. I didn't pay for like an educational course or anything like that. I didn't have a mentor. Like I said, back then they were not, available as they are today. And the ones that
Yeah.
were available were really, really expensive.
Yeah. They're
So
still expensive.
they're
There's a
still
lot more of
expensive,
them,
right?
but I think they kind of set the bar. Like they're not cheap to get into.
Um, so at the very beginning was that, right? Just learning by doing, making mistakes, learning from your mistakes.
Yeah.
That was the tough part. I think as you scale, the biggest, and it's a personality thing, I think, with a lot of people, is letting go of certain things and delegating. I
Yeah.
think, and I have that personality where I like to have control of things, and I had to learn
Yeah.
that in order for me to grow, I had to give up some of that control to other people that could help me. So that was a tough transition for me.
Yeah.
Now, based on what I'm doing now, one of my toughest challenges right now is as we grow the business is how do we scale in a healthy way? Because now, we have tons of marketing going out. We're doing multiple deals every month. So how do we do this, but still do it in a way where we do it in a healthy growth, not just grow for the sake of growing?
Yeah. 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 No, that makes sense. I mean, I actually got to kind of meet Beardy Brandon. So he spoke to our mastermind last year and he
Nice.
talked about, their strategy with scaling. The big thing was that even just to meet their costs for payroll and stuff like that, they actually had to continue to acquire things because every time they acquired something, they had their management fee in there. So whether that was like a couple $100,000 or something like that, but in order to continue paying for those things, it pushed them to scale. So it's kind of an interesting way to look at it. And obviously there will come a time when the property stabilizes and they'll be bringing in a certain amount of cash flow as well. But that was like a really big thing that continued to push them just because of the management fee. So I found that
Yeah, no, I
interesting.
agree. I agree. One of the things that I always say to people is, it doesn't matter if you have one property or if you have 10, like start your business and structure in a way as if you had 100.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're going to build some systems that you maybe didn't think of at the beginning once you get
Yeah.
to that point, but it's just going to train yourself to think of your business that way. So as you grow, then you're kind of saying, okay, now I could plug this person in this position because I already had it in my mind that I was going to
Yeah.
need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where the business planning comes into to play, right? And to
Yeah.
your point, like a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And each level that you reach is going to require, maybe an expansion of those systems and different things. What works in the beginning may not work 50 doors or 100 doors later. And
Exactly.
especially as you have multiple corps and stuff like that,
Mhm.
depending on how you're set up from the standpoint of taxes and legal implications and stuff like
Yep.
that. So now I guess when you look at your portfolio, what do you think is something that you feel like you're most proud of?
So I will say my real estate proudest moment came about a year ago. So I think every entrepreneur and the same thing with real estate investors, your significant other makes most of the sacrifices, if you do have a significant other.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time, was my wife now, I told her from the very beginning when we started doing this that my goal will be to have her not have to work or just have the option to work when we had kids.
Yeah.
So we actually reached that goal because of the business and real estate. As of last year, we had our second son. And she had the option where she decided not to go back to work and just stayed home with both of our kids. And to me, that was one of the proudest moments of my real estate journey, because it was kind of the realization of, okay, I set up this goal maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now, after all the sacrifices, we actually seeing the fruits of all the hard work that was put through so many years ago.
Yeah.
So to me, that was kind of my highlight of my real estate journey thus far.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, especially in the States, like your maternity leave is not quite as robust as some other places. Like for us, I think we have 18 months, and I think you guys have 3 months.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's when you think about it, like when I had my daughter, she's 4.5 now, but I couldn't even imagine putting her in childcare at 3 months. You know what they're not even sitting up yet. Like, I just couldn't even imagine that. So I think that's amazing that you're able to kind of structure your business so it kind of works for the lifestyle that you want to lead. And obviously that's going to repay itself over and over again as your children continue to grow. So on that note, we're just going to take a really brief break for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Discover the power of smart real estate investing. We are a private REIT based in Calgary, Alberta. Our team provides expert management and support. Our focus is buy and hold multifamily real estate. Invest in tangible assets with cash or registered funds. We make investing accessible with our low minimums. We target a 12% annual return. WealthShare offers secure passive investing for long-term goals. Be a part of a growing community. Invest with WealthShare and start building your future today.
Welcome to the Wealth Club, an exclusive community dedicated to elevating your journey towards financial freedom, well-being, and success. The journey to 1% starts here. Join like-minded leaders and commit to growth for the mind, body, bankroll, and soul. Learn all the proven techniques to change your life forever with direct access to a massive team of more than 10 tried and true experts. Moreover, members enjoy priority access to investment opportunities, job openings, and partnerships within the community. For just $1 a day, members gain entry to specialized forums covering a wide spectrum of fields. Discover diverse income streams, new opportunities, collaborations, and employment. Partake in weekly Zoom calls with our team and join monthly live Q&A sessions. Compete and win cash prizes. Active members top the leaderboard for monthly rewards. Ready to get started? Join today to unlock your true potential. To sign up, go to scroll.com/The Wealth Club. I value transparency, integrity, and trust. If you choose to work with me, you can be assured that business will be conducted honestly and openly. Time is of the essence in this industry, so you can expect nothing short of quick, clear communication from me. I'll keep you informed every step of the way so you feel comfortable throughout this entire process. Our homes are where we eat, sleep, relax, and play. My clients' best interests are at the heart of everything I do. And with this said, my service to you doesn't end when the transaction does. As your realtor, I'll not only help you buy and sell your property, I'll also educate and support you along the way. I want to help you fulfill your goal of homeownership and become your trusted real estate resource for life. I can't wait to share my passion for real estate with you. More importantly, find you the perfect house to turn into your home. Looking to buy, sell, or invest in Durham Region or Toronto? Let's chat. Inspired to Invest is proud to support the Beyond Success program. In today's complex world, it's absolutely crucial for our youth to learn how to take charge of their financial future. We believe that every young person deserves access to accurate, practical financial information. Designed to bridge the gap, the Beyond Success program leverages a comprehensive educational bootcamp to equip young minds with essential financial literacy skills. At Beyond Success, it's not just about teaching financial literacy, it's also about fostering a foundation for a prosperous and empowered future. Join us. Together we can build a brighter financial future for the next generations. Join us. Together we can build a brighter financial future for the next generations. Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspired to Invest. We have Jose Bernard here. He's from Circle Management in Connecticut, and he's talking about how he scaled his business, starting out in university, but then really getting serious about it back in 2016. Now he has 48 doors and he's flipping one or two houses almost every single month. And he's also building a school in Dominican and facilitating the donation of supplies. So very, very well-rounded entrepreneur. I guess one thing that I want to know is, obviously you've been doing this for a while, but what would you say is one of the craziest things that you've experienced as a real estate investor so far?
So I have a funny one and a scary one. Which one do you want to listen to?
Let's go with the scary one first.
All right. So when I first started investing, like a lot of us do, we do the repairs ourselves, right? To save costs. So I used to pick up this workers that were part of a program in the city where I am. And long story short, there was one time when I picked up one of the workers. Worker was very quiet that morning for some odd reason, and he had already worked with me for a couple of days. Yeah. And we get to the place, we rehabbing the property. He's really quiet, and out of nowhere, he starts screaming at me, telling me that I was a cop and I was after him.
Oh dear, yeah.
So he had like a hammer in his hand, like it was bad. Oh, it was really bad. He had a hammer in his hand. Break. So the funny thing, Serena, is that this guy was a nice guy. Like I had multiple conversations with him. Like he was a nice guy for what I knew, as far as I know. So my first thing was like, okay, I have to get this guy away from the property as much as I can, because I don't know what he might do or break in the property. So I started walking outside of the property, and we got to the street. He was literally almost to the point where he was ready to charge at me. I called the cops got involved. The cops came, the ambulance came, and not sure if it was drugs or if it was a mental health issue there. But after like an hour of the ambulance being there, the guy came back to normal and he apologized.
Yeah.
So wow. That was a scary situation.
Yeah, I would say.
That was a scary situation. Now, a funny one that I think is like, I remember this for the rest of my life. So when I first started, the system that I had for tenants to make a repair request is sending a picture to a Google Voice number that I had. So it's late at night. It was like 10 at night. And I had trained them to, if it's an emergency, we'll get back to you right away. If not, we'll get back to you within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I get this text message of a hole on the ceiling and a cat in a laundry basket.
Oh dear.
The message just read, a cat just fell through my ceiling.
Yeah.
What had happened to this tenant was that she was on the second floor, and the attic, there was a small leak that we didn't detect. And what happened is the sheetrock in the ceiling was soaking up the water, and the cat from the tenant downstairs had gotten up to the attic, and when it stepped on the ceiling, it went right through her bedroom and right into her laundry basket.
Oh. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely an issue. Well, I guess better a cat than like, there could be other things or person.
That's true.
It could have been worse, right? So I feel like I'll take the cat. That's so crazy. So I guess talking back about your real estate investing and education and stuff like that, I'm sure that you've got a pretty big network. What would you say is some of the best advice that you've received?
One of the biggest things that someone once told me was that, hey, listen, if whatever you do, if you don't do it with a strong reason, a purpose behind it, it's going to be extremely hard to do.
Yeah.
And I took that to heart, because whoever wants listening, real estate is a great industry to be in, but it's simple, but it's not easy. And there's a lot of setbacks. There's a learning curve to be learned.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people get into this just thinking that they're going to make all this money because other people promote it as that right off the bat. And that could be the case for some people, but that's not the norm. And I think if you get into real estate investing without a reason why you really want to do this, it's very easy to get discouraged once you start doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you've done a lot. What would you say is next for you? Like, is there something new that you want to expand in when it comes to the nature of the work or an asset class?
Yeah. So right now, as a company, we have a pretty hefty goal set of what we want to make this year. So we have a goal of making $1 million in profit through house flips. And on the cash flow goal, we have a goal of tripling our cash flow that we currently have today over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's not so much getting a number of doors. So we more focus on what the cash flow is, and that's the number that we work with against, like not the number of doors so much, but it's more how can we get to that cash flow number.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Now, I know you talked a little bit about how real estate's changed your life with your wife, for example, not going back to work after having your second child. But, what would you say in terms of how it's really changed your life in terms of lifestyle and your return on time and things of that nature?
Absolutely. At the beginning, you actually sacrifice a lot more time than you get back. So it's kind of funny because you do this to gain time back, but people have to understand that when you get into this at the beginning, you have to sacrifice a lot of time. And sometimes your loved ones, the time that you spend with them, right?
Yeah.
And then after you start seeing the benefits, it's really when you start seeing that time return to you.
Yeah.
So for me right now, my biggest life changes, it has given me the resources and the time to do some things that are a lot more important to me than the money that comes from real estate or anything else, like this foundation. So last year, my dad passed away about a year and a couple of months ago, and I started this foundation after his name, and I'm able to go to the Dominican Republic multiple times in the year. I'm able to fund a lot of the things that we're doing. Obviously, we ask for donations to help do all the things that we want to do. But I'm able to do all these things because of real estate, because of that flexibility, and not just the time, but the income that comes in real estate, that I could put that to do something that I'm truly passionate about, that's most important to me.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Now, obviously, the name of this podcast is Inspired to Invest. So I always like to ask people if they have a favorite quote that really inspires or motivates them.
I do. So I think one of my favorite quotes is, I can't remember who it's from, but it reads like this. It's every day might not be good, but there's something good in every day.
Yeah.
And you have to be positive. I think not just real estate, but life in general is about the mindset that you have. It's not so much what happens to you, but how you react. That's the only thing that you could truly control.
Yeah.
And in this business, like I said before, you're going to be faced with challenges. You're going to be faced with setbacks. There's going to be deals that are not going to work the way you thought they were going to work. And you have to control your emotions and learn from them.
Yeah.
Find whatever positive you can from it and apply it to the next one.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now, for anyone that wants to get in touch to learn more about either your business or your projects down in Dominican, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Absolutely. So Instagram is probably where I'm most active, and people could DM me and connect with me through there. And it's at Jose Bernard Investor. That's my name on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, or I do get people that reach out to me through there, and I'm always responding to people through there.
Perfect. So we'll make sure that we include that in the show notes below. Of course, thank you for your time. And for everyone that's tuning in, we appreciate your time as well. If you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following along at Inspired to Invest podcast on social, and you've subscribed here on YouTube. And remember, when you invest in yourself, the sky's the limit. Thanks again. Thank you to WealthShare for bringing you this episode of Inspired to Invest. The views represented on this podcast are for general information only, and does not constitute investment or other professional advice or an offering of securities. The host and guests featured on Inspired to Invest make no representations as to the performance of any particular investment. Should you decide to make an investment, you are responsible for conducting your own review and analysis. It is recommended that you obtain independent legal, accounting, and tax advice from licensed professionals.